Alright, welcome back to the RootBSD Technology channel. Today we are doing part 2, going through the frequently asked questions. Just real quick, I want to show you the music that's playing is Stomp's playlist. It's by Lo-Fi Geek, and it's no copyright lo-fi, hip-hop, and chill-hop mix 2021. So definitely check out Stomp's playlist and check out Lo-Fi Geek. Alrighty. So where we left off last time is migrating to OpenBSD. Now today I am not using the mouse. I completely unplugged my mouse. I am trying to be better about not using the rat. Let's not even call it the mouse, it's the rat. And that's why we use rat poison, to kill the rat. So let's go. Migrating to OpenBSD. If you learned Unix from any of the good books on general Unix, and let's see what the good books are. We have HTTP and Relay Demastery, the Book of PF, which I definitely want to get. Absolute OpenBSD, I own that book. And, Secure Architectures with OpenBSD, I wanted to get my hands on that. And here's some other collection of OpenBSD books on their website, so definitely check that out. So let's see here. If you've learned Linux from any of the good books on general Unix, understanding the Unix philosophy and then extending your knowledge to a particular platform, you will find OpenBSD to be familiar. Here are some commonly encountered differences between OpenBSD and other Unix variants. OpenBSD is a BSD-style Unix, following the 4.4 BSD design closely. Linux and Solaris are System V-style systems. Some Unix operating systems mix System V, or I think it's System 5, and BSD characteristics. A common place where this causes confusion is in the startup scripts. OpenBSD uses the RC system. So yes, OpenBSD uses a nice old-fashioned RC init script system. Now Linux used to use these. I recall Arch Linux first started out using something like this. Everything now is either systemd on Linux, or there is OpenRC or Runit and BusyBox. But yes, OpenBSD will never use systemd. Sorry, Leonard Pottering, you're not welcome. So OpenBSD is a complete system intended to be kept in sync. It is not a kernel plus utilities that can be upgraded separately from each other. So it's all compiled. The source tree is all compiled in one unit, basically. And we're gonna definitely compile this whole system from source here once we get to that section in the frequently asked questions. I'm really looking forward to that because I've never done that before. It'll be super exciting. OpenBSD maintains a ports tree to provide third-party software. Precompiled packages are created and distributed by the OpenBSD ports team. Okay, so yes, we do have what's called the OpenBSD ports tree, and you can also, there's the OpenBSD Porters Handbooks if you're interested in porting software. That means you're basically going to take a piece of source code from GitHub or whatever kind of Git repository it's hosted on, and then you're going to try to compile it and get it to work at OpenBSD. And then once you get a working port going, then you draft a make file and submit it to ports, and you can be a port maintainer or whatever. And so this Porter's Handbook will give you a guide to what it takes to port software over from like Linux or Windows or other systems over to OpenBSD. And usually most of our software comes from Linux. Okay. The ports tree is a giant folder of make files, and all the programs are basically available if you use the package manager. And you can all get those all as binaries. And honestly, for the most part, all the binaries that you get in package.add are going to be no different than what you're going to get when you compile out of ports. The best use for ports is if you want to make some special changes or add some patches to the ports tree, or you're testing some new software, or you're writing some new software. Or you're copy-pasting a work-in-progress ports from Jasperlaw, and I'll put a link in the description to Jasperlaw, the OpenBSD work-in-progress ports. You can copy-paste it over to the ports tree and compile it there. OpenBSD uses CVS to keep track of source code changes. Now, Anon CVS is one of the original version control systems for open source projects. OpenBSD pioneered the version control system that we take for granted today. It was before Linux ever did it, because before that, all software was siloed, and you would just get big source code dumps like once a month. And sometimes you had to order them and buy them because the internet was terrible back then. So OpenBSD uses CVS to keep track of source code changes. OpenBSD pioneered Anon CVS, which allows anyone to extract the full source tree from any version of OpenBSD at any time. Also allows you to see, go back in history and see what changes were made when. Maybe, that's useful when they're trying to figure out an old bug. Because sometimes bugs are found from things that were done in the source code, maybe, possibly, sometimes even going 5-10 years back. So that's what CVS is great for. There's also a web interface for CVS. Definitely, it won't open up properly, I think, oh no, it will. So you can look up the ports and the source tree right here. Like I can, even from links, I can just kind of start looking at some of the OpenBSD source code. Like here's the, I think I can look at cat. It'd be nice if somebody could fork this program links and give it Vim keys. But boy, is it easy on the eye to read. So I can, I think I can look at this. Yep, here you go. And this is the program cat. And Theodorat definitely recommends that if you want to learn C programming and learn operating systems and learn the kernel and everything, he says the best place to go is not the books anymore. Back in the day there were good CPU architecture books. But he says everything now is in the source code. And the source code is going to show you how it's interacting with the terrible hardware and the dance that it does to make it look good to the user. Because usually it's the hardware that's terrible, and the operating system's kind of, mitigating that and making it better for your experience. Okay. OpenBSD has gone through heavy and continual security auditing to ensure the quality and security of the code. Yep, absolutely. They definitely have audited and gone through the vast majority of their source code, and they're always going to continue to do it. I'm not sure at any given time how much they're doing it. They do say that they do it, so I'll just take it. I'll just take their word for it. OpenBSD does not support journaling file systems. Now I know this is kind of a deal breaker for some people, and I think a big complaint about OpenBSD is some people just don't like the file system. Personally, it doesn't bother me. I think the file system is very robust. My laptop is a little banged up, and the battery will just fall out if you don't put some like Gorilla Tape on it. And I can't tell you how many times, sometimes like 3 times a day, I've hard reset, hard power off while it was in the middle of doing stuff, the FFS2 file system, and I've never had data corruption. So that thing, you can unplug it all day long, and you're not really unless you're like literally in the middle of a file transfer. That's why I always like to use CP and not MV, just in case something like that happens. But anyways, so OpenBSD does not support journaling file systems. Instead, we use the soft updates feature of the fast file system. Look at that here. Soft updates is based on an idea proposed by Greg Garner and Yale Pat and developed for FreeBSD by Kirk Mukisik. I hope I'm not butchering that name, Kirk. Soft updates impose a partial ordering on the buffer cache operation, which permits the requirement for synchronous writing of directory entries to be removed from the FFS code. A large disk writing performance increase is seen as a result. So I always enable updates on all my, soft updates on all my desktop machines. So apparently, soft updates is their answer to journaling file systems. I personally have never had the need to use journaling. I don't know, I'm not much of a file system geek. As long as it works well, it's fast, and if there's if I lose power or if the battery falls out, don't make fun of me about the battery thing, okay? But if that happens, I just want to make sure there's no data corruption, and I've never had data corruption with FFS2, and trust me, I beta tested it like some little wild munchkin would beta test a toy, throwing it up against the wall. I mean, I've never thrown my computer against the wall, but I've dropped it many times. OpenBSD comes with packet filter. This means that network address translation, or NAT, queuing and filtering are handled through PF control, PF and PF.conf. So yes, I'm definitely going to do a series on PF. I'm currently reading some material on it. You know, that's a work in progress. And if you guys ever notice there's like a gap in me putting out videos, it's generally either because I'm burnt out and don't have a lot of free time, or I'm spending a lot of time preparing and researching so I can make you guys quality videos. I know a lot of people say YouTube is quality over quantity, but one of my favorite YouTubers, DistroTube, Derek, he gave me some really good advice about just not letting that stuff bother you and just focusing on the content and just focusing on, you can only do so much. And the YouTube algorithm, if it's going to punish you for taking too long to put out a video, then so be it. I mean, eventually your viewers are going to like you and they're going to look for your content. You know, and there's plenty of YouTube channels where if I don't see anything from them, I'll look them up to make sure, maybe I missed a notification and stuff like that. And that never bothered me. OpenBSD default shell is the Corn shell, which is based on the public domain Corn shell. It's KSH. Shells such as Bash and many others can be added from packages. Yeah, I use Fish. Some people use Z shell. Some people use the C shell. There's all sorts of stuff you can use. I just use Fish because just the tab completion, and it remembers all my commands really well. Corn shell, you have to do some configuration to get it because it'll just forget every command, like every hour. It just forgets everything purposely. And that's great. I mean, I don't know. For some people, they like that as a security feature that your shell forgets commands. Me personally, I need it to remember my commands. I hate having to type things over and over again. And that's what's great about Fish. I know it's not POSIX, and I really just don't care because honestly, I just use it for the command line. I don't do anything super fancy with it. Devices are named by driver, not by type. In other words, there are no EF0 and EF1 devices. It would be EM0 for an Intel Pro 1000 Ethernet card, e.g. E0 for a Broadcom blah 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 Ethernet device. So yeah, devices are named by drivers. OpenBSD, i386, AMD 64, and several other platforms use a two-layer disk partitioning system, where the first layer is the fdisk BIOS visible partition, and the second is the disk label. And here's disk labels are used to manage OpenBSD file system partitions. They contain certain details about your disk, such as drive geometry and file system information. They are described in depth in the disk label man page. Use the disk label command to edit labels. So yeah, in OpenBSD we use disk label and we use fdisk for all our file system editing and partitioning and stuff like that. And definitely, yeah, if you're following along with this, open up in a VM your OpenBSD VM install, or grab your OpenBSD laptop or whatever if you're using Linux, and check these out. I don't really have time to go deep and long on all these links here, but you can learn a lot just from going through this frequently asked questions. Now, some other operating systems encourage you to customize your kernel for your machine. OpenBSD users are encouraged to simply use the standard generic kernel provided and tested by developers. Yep, this is not a system for just going wild with compiling and your own custom kernel and rolling your own thing. That's more of a Linux thing and a Gentoo thing, and that's for people with a lot of free time. Joshua, we love you, but Gentoo it's kind of rough to spend 24 hours to install an operating system. Let's see here. Some other operating systems encourage you to customize your kernel and your machine. OpenBSD users are encouraged to simply... Oh, I'm reading the same thing over again. I'm a dummy. Alrighty. I unplugged my mouse because I want to get better at using a Qt browser and stop myself from using the mouse. But this program requires a little bit of mouse usage. So let me plug that sucker back in. There we go, that's better. Okay, reporting bugs. Reporting bugs is one of the most important responsibilities for end users. Very detailed information is required to diagnose most serious issues. For example, the following would be an appropriate bug report. So here's an example of an appropriate bug report. Now, also, it's sometimes good if you can to get DDB right here, the debug program, to dump all the necessary information, and then hopefully when you reboot your computer, that dump is saved. Now, sometimes I've had kernel panics in the past where, for whatever reason, it would not write to the hard disk, so I couldn't save the kernel dump, and I couldn't really send a bug report. So that does happen. But if you can write to the hard disk and it does save your DDB dump, definitely submit bug reports. It helps OpenBSD to get better. And a lot of times they will look at these bug reports and do their best. And the more information that you can provide, you know what? The developers have no problem with you providing like literally like 20 pages. They don't. That's better. They provide as much information as possible. The more information, the more likely they will be able to find the bug. Thank you. See this page for more information in creating and submitting bug reports. And this is OpenBSD problem reports, and I think that's on the main page. So definitely read this on your free time. If you ever encounter a kernel panic, or if you're running snapshots or something that you can reproduce, always please just send an email and report it, and try to include as much information as possible. And there's a total guide here on how to do it. All right, supporting the project. Get that up to the top of the screen here. Oh, we're on the bottom. Okay. We are greatly indebted to the people and organizations that have contributed to the OpenBSD project. OpenBSD has a constant need for several types of support from the community. Yes, this is free and open source software. These guys aren't getting paid by anybody. They'll take any donations that they can. I think even in the past, they took a donation from the U.S. government because the U.S. government was researching whether or not Linux or BSDs were more secure, what's the most secure operating system. And I think DARPA gave them like $10,000. And Theodore Rat says, "Hey, I'll take it. That's one less cruise missile they're going to build to go, bomb some children in Iraq." So, that guy is always based. I love that guy. OpenBSD has a constant need for several types of support from the community. If you find OpenBSD useful, you are strongly recommended to find a way to contribute. You can donate money, and that goes to the OpenBSD Foundation, right here. And Theodore Rat is not in charge of the OpenBSD Foundation. It's a completely separate entity. But you can send money directly to him, too. Let's see here. Donate equipment and parts. Okay, absolutely. Hardware is wanted. The following list outlines hardwares that the OpenBSD project could use. There are a number of reasons why developers need hardware. It is important to first of all realize these reasons. One, to support a specific device, normally one which is rare or new. I think what they would really love is RISC-V hardware. Send them RISC-V hardware. They definitely need it right now. And if one of my viewers here has a little extra money, maybe you have a lot of different hardware, send them Apple M1 machines too. I'm sure they're looking for those because they have a new beta port for the M1 for Apple and for RISC-V. So to support a specific device to be part of their development environment, and some type of machines may be different in some way, i.e. big endian or unsigned character, and ensure that developers write code more carefully. That said, space or power may be at a premium for some people. If you do not own these devices but want to help us, we recommend that you search on eBay for these devices. If you do the bidding and then get the device shipped to us, it will really help us. It is better if the developers develop and skip the bidding process, since any time saved can be spent on improving OpenBSD instead. If it is clear which specific developers should be contacted, please do so directly. Otherwise, contact Theodore Rat, who will pass on the message to whichever developers are in need. Please be very clear as to where you are located. For larger items, this can be important, yes. Sometimes I know from experience, it's expensive to ship to Canada, especially anything that's heavy, and you have to fill out a customs form. So definitely check this out if you're interested in donating hardware. Donate your time and skills. Programmers who enjoy writing operating systems are naturally always welcome, but there are many other ways that people can be useful. So yeah, send diffs. If you know how to write diffs, if you're a C programmer or Perl programmer, or I think there's like 10 different languages that are used in the entire operating system. Send diffs, send patches to the OpenBSD Tech mailing list, and they'll look at it, and if they like it, they might accept it. You never know. Follow the mailing list and help answer questions from other users. Absolutely. If you're really knowledgeable about a certain subject in the mailing list, answer some questions. Help maintain documentation by submitting a new frequently asked questions material to miscellaneous at openbsd.org. Absolutely. Documentation is number one in OpenBSD. It's king. The man pages. If there is something in the man page that is wrong or it's unclear to the reader, that is considered a bug in OpenBSD. Form a local user group and get your friends hooked on OpenBSD. Now, I feel like I'm doing my part by the BSD channel. I think I'm getting you guys hooked on OpenBSD, so I'm doing my part. Make a case to your employer for using OpenBSD at work. Yeah, I know. I think you guys have a hard time just getting your employers to use Linux, but you know, I cook for a living, so I can't really see a practical way to use OpenBSD at my job, or they really wouldn't even care. My boss, he uses Windows, and he literally keeps everything, all his folders and everything on the desktop folder, and it's a giant hodgepodge of icons and random spaces, like 50 icons. It's freaking hilarious. It's the most normie thing I've ever seen in my life. So, yeah, absolutely. If you're a student, talk to your professors about using OpenBSD as a learning tool for computer science and engineering courses. And this has actually happened. The University of Minnesota is responsible for our RISC-V port. That was fantastic. And they did that at the same time some other university, I think it was San Jose State, they were sending like malicious patches to the Linux kernel development team and just totally made clowns of themselves. But those giga-chads over there at University of Minnesota, they flexed their programming muscles and they helped port RISC-V to OpenBSD, and they wrote all their I think it was their final papers in their computer science classes on it. Man, those guys are awesome. You know, hire those guys. Those are some hard workers, some go-getters. All right, so we are done with migrating OpenBSD and support. So now we're going to get into the installation guide, okay? And now this one, I'm going to have to figure out how to tackle because obviously we're in an already installed OpenBSD system that's all ready to go. So there's really, I can't reinstall it on top of itself. So I'm kind of wondering how I would do this. I might maybe just drop into a Linux machine and do this over a virtual, on VirtualBox, and then we'll go through the frequently asked questions on Linux, and then I can follow along with this on VirtualBox. I think that would probably be the best solution. So next episode, we're going to go over the entire installation process. I'll probably have to break it into two parts because, I don't know, it's just hard for me to get these into 20-minute videos. Some of this stuff just needs more time. Unfortunately, none of my videos will sync over to Odysee if they're over 30 minutes, and my past two videos have been over 30 minutes. I tried so hard that last video to edit the nuts out of it, edit all the ums and ahs and dead spaces, and I still could not get that thing to go under 31 minutes without, kind of taking away any of the good content. So I'm trying my best. It's, I kind of hate that as a requirement, that the algorithm and whatever, everybody wants short videos. When it comes to tech, man, sometimes we need to take our time and kind of get into things. So, alright, so yeah, the next video will be into this installation guide, and there'll be a lot to learn. And I've installed OpenBSD many times, and this will be pretty exciting. What I'll probably do also, though, is we might have to kind of skip over things because some of these things, like, let's say, like doing full disk encryption, that's actually covered in a whole nother section. I think it's system management, package management, yeah, and disk setup. So we'll have to jump over to this to show you full disk encryption, because by the time I get here, I'd have to, or maybe I'll just do it again and just show you really quick in an install video just how it's done. All right. If you guys have any ideas how I can better do this, or if you like the way I'm doing this, just let me know in the comments. Either way, I really appreciate all the supportive comments you guys have been giving me. I'm definitely working on some new materials. This weekend, my weekend is Sunday, Monday, but this weekend, the history of the BSD kernel and the differences between the various BSD projects is coming up. And also, we're going to be playing some Half-Life 1 using the X-Ash 3D engine. So really exciting stuff. And also check out my OpenBSD gaming channel. That's something that I'm actually really excited about because I'm not much of a gamer, but I love RPGs. And I can definitely get into some RPGs. And I got a long list of RPGs you guys have never heard of before that'll work on OpenBSD. And also we're going to do some stuff, some cool stuff too. Like definitely, so my strategy is games that are kind of new and exciting to play on OpenBSD. I'll showcase them once in a video on the main channel, and then I'll subsequently play through them on my gaming channel. So that'll be the strategy for now. So if you're ever wondering, oh, why is he posting a gaming video when he has a gaming channel? Those ones will be the ones that are special, that would bring some attention and some advocacy to the platform. Because everyone loves video games. So I mean, anybody that's under 30 years old. So, anyways, I hope you got something out of this. Have a great day, and bye.